You're listening to Popcorn Unscripted.
The podcast where we dive into movies and TV shows with no scripts, no filters, just real talk and plenty of popcorn.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Dylan.
We're here to talk about everything we love
And love to hate.
in pop culture. So grab your popcorn
Sit back.
and let's get this show started. Okay, Dylan. It's episode 11. What's that?
I pulled a muscle.
What'd you do that for?
Ow.
What?
My arm went stiff.
Well, that's what you get for laying on it.
Yeah.
So what is today's movie, Dylan?
Today we're doing a futuristic movie in a way, but space.
It's more, I wouldn't say it's futuristic. I would say it's
Comparing,
space themed.
I would say
It's
futuristic
like
in
modern. It's modern 2005.
pretty much.
Pretty much.
I was gonna go with futuristic of our previous episode.
A previous episode.
A previous
Not the
episode.
previous
Not
episode.
previous, since the last one was Captain America.
Yeah. A previous episode.
In a way, it's futuristic to that one because it's the same concept but executed differently.
Yeah. And it is. I don't have my soundboard, so I have to make it with my mouth. Zathura!
Unscripted.
Unscripted. So we both had grew up with this movie. Well, at least I did.
I did.
And it
Watching
horrified me as a child.
Really?
Yeah. It scared me because of the robot.
Honestly, I thought you were going to say the Zorgons.
No, because I would barely see the... Because, let's be real, the lighting on the Zorgons, you could barely see them.
True.
Except for the one that you could see walking in the upstairs hallway. That one you could see.
Well, what about the one that was shoveling stuff into the
Well, that
furnace
too.
on the ship?
Yeah, that one too.
It
But
was
to me, it was the robot that scared me.
I can see it.
Because at first, the Zorgons didn't come after them. It was the robot that would come after them.
Well, the Zorgons did come after him, technically, if you want to count blowing the crap out of the house.
Well, but they wouldn't have done that if they hadn't have made themselves known.
Well, you can blame the sister for that.
Yeah. Well, technically it wasn't her fault.
Technically, it is because she turned up the heat from 40 degrees to then over 80.
That's true, but she didn't
And that's
know.
what attracted them. Well, to be fair, she just got a chromostasis.
Yeah, but she didn't know about the game at
Or
all.
cryostasis.
She
Cryostasis.
didn't know about the game or anything at all. She didn't know what was happening.
No, she did know about the game. Because they
She
tried
did.
telling her before she got frozen.
Yeah, they tried.
But she didn't believe it. But she didn't willing to believe it.
They tried to tell her. She didn't believe them because all that happened was their ship just went back 2 spaces.
I think I got promoted.
Yeah, he got promoted to Fleet Admiral and moved up a space.
Yeah.
And then
It's ironic
that's
this
all that
one
happened, so
card-
she just completely disregarded it.
Fascinating. Shuts door.
Yeah. So technically, it's not her fault. It was the kid's fault. Because he didn't go blow out the flame like he was told to do.
Well, would you if you just saw the robot at the bottom of the steps trying to repair itself?
I mean, I would have tried to figure out a way around it. Because,
You
I mean, if
couldn't.
it was... Because at the same time, if it's still repairing itself, that means it's not active.
But you don't know that. Remember? Because it was still repairing itself originally when they, when...
It was still repairing itself when he was downstairs with the Zorgons, and it didn't get up until after they were out of the basement.
Well, it already got up and moved. It was no longer in the basement. It was on the staircase.
No.
Wait. Then where'd it go? Because he... Then where the heck did it go?
Where did it go?
Because he ran right past it, but it wasn't there
Yeah.
when he went into the staircase. Then the two Zorgons were at the top. And then all of a sudden, then we hear the robot beating the crap out of the Zorgons that were in the basement. Where was it?
Maybe it went incognito mode.
It snuck up behind the Zorgons and just beat the crap out of them.
Alien life form must destroy.
But I mean, you can't really blame him because there's only two ways to go to there. The
dumbwaiter, which is broken.
Well, it wasn't broken at the time.
It wasn't broken at the time. You're right.
But it's still sketchy as heck because also Walter couldn't fit.
Yeah.
Only Danny could.
Yeah.
And the other way was where the robot was.
Yeah.
But Grant, we did. I think it was her when the Zorgons came back and everything, because she went to go down the stairs into the basement, and it was standing upright, but electricity was shooting off of it.
Well, it was still repairing itself. Yeah.
True, but you don't want to be near that if it's shooting electricity. Even for a brief moment.
Right. It'd be alright.
I don't know about that.
It'd be alright. He probably needed to be electrocuted after everything he did in the movie to his little brother.
Great. Well, it was the sister who was going to get zapped.
Well, no, she didn't.
She's the one that went first.
I was talking about Walter when he went to go downstairs to blow out the furnace, and then he didn't because the robot was in the way.
True.
He probably deserves to be electrocuted.
Well, heck, you could actually see it visually see it repairing itself by the bright flash of lights underneath the door, and also the saw blade still spinning.
No, the robot's dead. It would be like
it wasn't dead.
Well, it was being repaired, so it couldn't have used anything.
Well,
it was completely shut down.
To be fair, in between the scenes, we have no clue what it was doing.
It took that whole portion from when it was down in the basement all the way to the point where the Zorgons came back that it took to repair it.
No, I mean, like, we have no clue what it was doing in between, from when we first saw it repairing itself to it actually being upright.
Well, we know it was repairing itself. That's what we know.
Well, more so how it was repairing itself.
Well, it had a little critter on the inside of it. Go deep, 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 deep.
True, but other than that, we don't know what else it was doing. Because you could hear, like, sparks, and you could see sparks and stuff coming from underneath the door and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but there's no way that little thing is causing those giant sparks.
You never know.
Because we saw it repairing itself, and it was not doing anything.
It can be small,
you can see
mighty.
Fluctuating electricity, but that's about it.
Yeah, it can be small but mighty.
I know in this situation.
I think it could. I won't underestimate the little guy.
I'm going to.
So, when we rewatched the film, what were your first thoughts when you watched it, and how does it compare to other movies like Jumanji?
I don't know if this really should be a contest to begin with.
Well, I'm not saying that it's a contest. I'm just saying, how does it compare? I would say it's Jumanji, but a space theme. That's what I would call this movie. Or at least that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, it's
Jumanji, but in space.
Probably better executed in some parts.
Well, you have to think they had to do it in a completely different way because space.
Well, I mean, more so the way it was all executed, because when we looked back at Jumanji, a lot of the CGI did not age well whatsoever.
Well, no, but you also have to think Jumanji was made in 1995.
And this was 2005.
And this was 2005, so this was 10 years later.
True, but at the same time, that doesn't mean necessarily anything. Because there's plenty.
It shows the advancements we have made in CGI. I actually saw a picture the other day when I was making the cover art for the episode, and I saw that most of the robot was actually practical.
I was about to say, because it looked hardly CGI.
So the head, the big body, and the feet were practical effects, and the arms and the legs were CGI.
That's what I kind of figured, because the body looked unnaturally, like, realistic compared to CGI.
Mm-hmm. Because it was practical effect. Which, a lot of movie companies are trying to move away from practical effects to kind of cut back on costs, I assume.
I don't think they need to be doing that.
I don't think so
Stick to
either.
practical. CGI can only do so much, and if you rely on it too
Mhm.
much, it looks horrendous.
And then you look and see what all of these people in the makeup departments and stuff can do. Like The Last of Us, for example, the way they do like the clickers and the bloaters and all that kind of stuff, like that's practical effects in its finest,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
The Flash.
Yeah.
That-
We don't talk about that.
That's the example of horrible CGI.
We don't talk about the Flash. We don't talk about it. But yeah, that's the literal definition of amazing special effects.
But I mean, most of the CGI in Zathura looked really good and held up incredibly to nowadays.
Honestly, I think the lizards is probably the funniest looking things in the movie.
It just reminds me of
the way they move and stuff. It just looked really funny to me.
It just reminds me of the costumes from the original like live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
That's what it puts me in mind of because it looks
Which
the
then again,
exact
those-
same way but more detailed on the costumes.
yeah. Which those came out in the 90s, didn't they? The live action Ninja Turtles,
I think so.
or was it early 2000s?
I think it was late 90s, early 2000s.
I think it's late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there.
1990.
Okay, so it's early 90s.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
really early. Okay. And this is what I'm making sure. Yes, this is This is the one that had actual costumes for the turtles and
Yeah.
no CGI whatsoever.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's so amazing though the fact that those suits are so realistic, and you would think they're CGI. No.
No, they're real. And that's what makes it so cool. That's what makes them all so cool.
But I mean, can you imagine having to wear that costume though?
It'd be hot as balls.
Well, I mean, you gotta think it's a costume for down low, but that's an animatronic head that you're wearing. That way,
I don't think it was an animatronic.
No, I mean like there's parts of it that was animatronic, like the eyes. That was animatronic.
Yeah, but for the most part,
and the mouth
was...
movement.
Yeah, but for the mouth, they would have it like attached to their actual jaw and have it move.
Yeah,
that's the way most masks are made. That has like they have like puppet stuff inside of them, and when they move their mouth when they talk, the actual mouth of the head moves.
Mm-hmm. But they just had like I think a bracket and stuff in them to actually move up and down for the mouse because it's contouring the entire facial structure along with it.
Yeah, but for me, the Zorgons reminded me of the raptors from Jurassic Park. Like the original. Wait, what?
I don't watch any of those.
I've
actually never really been a fan of the Jurassic Park series to begin with.
Those are classics, or at least the first one is.
Well, then again, I've never been interested in dinosaurs.
You're weird. So, focusing on the two brothers, Danny and Walter, how do their personalities complement each other, and how do they help drive the film forward?
A little rough to watch.
Yeah, it was. But at the end of the day, they do set aside their differences.
They definitely act like siblings, for dang sure.
Yeah, that's for dang sure.
Maybe a little too well.
Throws a ball at his face. You're dead! That's definitely brothers right there. At the very beginning of the movie when Danny wanted to play catch and he was tossing the ball into his lap and then he accidentally threw it and it hit Walter in the face.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of a different point. I thought you were talking about the very beginning when he threw the glove.
No, not the glove. It was like after the dad was gone and they were sitting there watching Sports Center. So the game plays a pivotal role in the movie. What do you think the game symbolizes for the characters? Adventure, escape, or something deeper?
I would say kind of an escape.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Especially seeing the fact that you're mainly seeing this movie from Danny's perspective also.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it was a good mix between Walter and Danny.
I would say so.
Because you see both sides. Because you see both sides of their story.
It just seems like you stick more so with Danny throughout the film than you do with most of the people. Granted, you don't get much screen time with the sister.
No.
But then again, she spent most of the time in cryostasis.
Mm-hmm. But but yeah, there is more of Danny, but then again, he's the little brother. He's the one that just feels excluded. He just wants to be with his brother. He just wants to hang out with his brother. You know, kind of like your brother.
Yeah. To be fair, I think that we're also seeing it. I feel like we're seeing it more from his perspective because we also find out at the end of the film, or near the end of the film, about the astronaut wishing that Danny never existed.
But that's how Walter felt, though.
Yeah.
That's he blames Danny for their parents getting divorced.
Yeah.
He blames him for everything. He just feels like this person just ruined my entire life. And that's just how he feels. He just feels like it's all ruined and it's all been, you know.
Yeah. The reason why I say that is because the fact that because of that, and that's why we see more from his perspective a little bit, is because it's leading into, hey, this is actually Walter, and he wished that his brother never existed after an argument.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's like, oh, so that's why we've seen more from his perspective.
I mean, I still don't think we saw more of his perspective than we did Walter's.
Well, it felt like most of the time we see Walter's perspective. It's when they're both on screen at the exact same time.
No, not really. We do have scenes with just Walter.
True, but they're very few.
Very few, but I mean, it's about both brothers.
It's about I can't speak. It's about both brothers, but it does seem like it goes in more towards the Danny because of that twist with the astronaut being older Walter.
Well, that kind of goes towards both brothers, though.
Mm.
It shows like, hey, this like you. I don't really know how to put it. Like, I'll start with Walter. So with Walter, it's like, don't blame your little brother for everything. And then for Danny, it's like, take it easy on your brother.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, you both take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, you can see eye to eye, but at the same time, y'all can have disagreements, but don't take it so far.
Yeah.
Where you basically end up like how we did.
Yeah, ending up in, like, cat fights.
Yeah.
Or dog fights. Dog fights probably worse.
Dog fights, yeah.
So, if you were to play Zathura in real life, would you take the risk? What's the scariest or most exciting aspect of the game? I would. I think it'd be fun. Get your own robot that tries to kill you.
I don't think that counts. I don't know. Oh, I would say yes, only in the aspect of it works the exact same as the movie. You don't need a helmet in space.
Yeah. I'm assuming there was a bubble around the house, an invisible bubble or something.
You would hope.
Because if there wasn't, then they would be floating around in space. So there has to be some sort of gravity field and oxygen bubble around the house.
True. Unless the game is like is the only reason why that's happening.
Well, I would assume so. Yeah.
Well, the reason I say is because unlike Jumanji, when he got sent to an entirely different place without the board, and he was stuck. This one, the board is constantly with them.
What do you mean?
Well, when
he got sucked into the board.
Okay. Well, he basically got sucked. Yeah, he got sucked into the board, but he couldn't interact with the board itself.
Well, no, because he was in the board.
Yeah, but he had no protection at that point whatsoever.
Because he was sucked into the board.
Well,
what was he supposed to do?
Well, I'm talking about. The reason why I say this is because I feel like the game itself is providing that level of coverage around the house. Without the game, there would be no coverage around the house. So, like, if the Zorgons did manage to burn the game...
If they didn't have the game, then they would essentially just be stuck.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would remove the bubble around the house or anything at all.
Well, then
Because they
again,
would just be stuck in that game forever. They would be stuck in that round of the game forever.
well, take
Because
older
the board
Walter.
is
Where'd
destroyed.
he get the astronaut gear from? Because he started when they were kids too.
Probably crash landed on a planet somewhere. I don't know.
True.
We don't know that.
But the reason why I say this because
Either
what
that
if
or he was rescued.
I don't think he was rescued, seeing the fact that it did say stranded astronaut.
Well, he had to have been in order to get older and then get all the astronaut gear.
True.
He had to have been rescued from his place wherever he was with Walter.
Unless
or with Danny.
Well, they are. Granted, they're by Jupiter by when they first start playing the game. I was gonna say maybe maybe the house ended up floating near like one of the space stations,
Mm-hmm.
and he managed to get like a suit from there. And because he did mention about traveling through a wormhole
Mm-hmm.
to get there, so that means that the two timelines collided.
Yep.
So he probably aged on the space station, but just couldn't get. Well, never mind. That makes zero sense either. Because why didn't he just call for help from the space station?
Unless there was no signal.
Or well, that
We
would mean
also
there's
wouldn't know where the space station was either.
true, and you can't really control where the house is floating towards.
Mm-hmm. I genuinely think he may have been picked up in like a rocket ship or something.
Maybe. But it's just so weird how he acted like he's never acted like it was so normal to have that gear, though.
Yes, but he also knew about the Zorgons and how to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So it's like he has experience. So it's like, so take it like this. So it's kind of like he was sucked into the game as well.
Mm.
Like Alan was in Jumanji. Because when he wished his brother away, he was stuck.
Yeah,
in the
because he
game.
said it wasn't his turn.
Because it wasn't his turn. So he was stuck in that round of the game forever because he couldn't finish the game. So he was stuck there.
I'm just trying to figure out how he would have gotten that gear at this point. That's the only thing that doesn't make sense of where he got the gear. Because I mean, he had the works and everything. Granted, the backpack that he used, that was very.
That was like a jetpack. That wasn't no backpack.
Well, I'm talking about for like the astronaut backpacks.
That was a jetpack.
Yeah. It was very like crudely made, almost like it was used using fire extinguishers.
Well, what can you do with special effects?
Well, no, the reason why I say this is because it looked like he made that himself, but he just happened to find some astronaut suit in order to breathe.
I don't know.
But then again, then it contradicts itself by him going up into space to grab Walter after being flown for quote unquote cheating at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have any suit whatsoever, and he was perfectly fine,
Mm-hmm.
along with younger Walter.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it doesn't follow its own logic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense of what are the parameters for the house, basically for breathing.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, there's tons of holes in this dang place. So how are they breathing?
But then again, if you're playing a game, I'm assuming the game keeps you alive
True.
in general. Because you eventually would have to finish the game. So here's what I
that's
think
debatable,
would happen.
seeing the fact that the robot.
Well, here's what I think would happen. So if Walter was ejected from the game for cheating, I think he would have been sent back to that time, but kind of frozen.
Mm.
And then somebody else would have taken his place. It's like either the sister or older Walter would have taken his place. Because somebody would have had to take his place.
That makes me curious. Would older Walter be able to play in place of younger Walter? Seeing the fact they're the same person, but just from different ages and time.
Yeah.
Well, and from a different timeline.
Yeah. I mean, you would think so.
I guess, but at the same time,
But then again, if
he's
that's the
linked to
case-
another entirely different game.
But if that's the case, he would have been injected too.
Yeah.
But then again, he wasn't the one that moved peace.
Well, also not to mention he's linked to a different game entirely.
Yeah.
Compared to the one that the younger Walter is linked to.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like it doesn't follow its own rule set in a way.
Yeah.
Like Jumanji did, because Jumanji basically followed its rule set biblically.
Yeah.
But this one, it's loosely following its rules.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking. It's like the game itself is what's protecting the house for breathing, and because they were very worried about the Zorgons burning it.
Which they did. They ended up blowing up the house.
No, I mean like the game itself.
Yeah.
Because if Danny had not let the goats free, that game would have been burned right there in the furnace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm thinking is like once the game is destroyed, there goes that level of protection over the house.
I don't think that's how that works.
Maybe, but at the same time, you can't expect to go anywhere. You're now permanently stuck there because the game is gone.
Mm-hmm. So you're just stuck in the game.
Yeah.
Until another timeline version comes along or something. Kind of like with the astronaut.
Granted, they could have hitched a ride on the Well, then again, he could have hitched a ride on one of the Zorgons.
Yeah, they could have just had the robot take out all of the Zorgons on the ship.
Well, not even that. He could have just hit amongst them. Like underneath stuff or something.
Maybe that's what he did.
Because he knew so well how they operated that he had to have some level of experience of dealing with them, and you can't really do trial and error with them.
Yeah, no.
You really can't. So he had to have either snuck onto the ship, and that's where he got the suit from.
Mm-hmm.
But think it's
no, that would make sense because Zorgons eat meat.
That's right, and they will have had to eat a person for that and left a suit.
Yeah, so he must have gotten all of the gear off of a Zorgon ship.
That would be the only thing that makes sense because if
and then he would have then escaped the said ship, and then he'd be stranded.
Because I mean, if we're looking at from this timeline's perspective, and not from younger or older, it plays out the exact same as him.
Mm-hmm.
But because he got stranded astronaut, then that's when older Walter came into play, and that's why he intervened with the wish.
But then again, we don't know which wish it was that the older Walter had wished him away.
Well, he only got it twice, but
then again, older Walter would have only gotten it once.
Well, he got
because he wouldn't have been able to play again.
Well, he only got it the second time because he got
a new turn, or he had to repeat his last turn.
Yeah, he had to repeat his last turn, which was the wish. So that makes sense actually, because older Walter intervened with younger Walter, making the wish to wish Danny away. That means he could continue his turn, while older Walter couldn't because he couldn't get past that point. Yeah, so he could never reach the point to have that wish a second time.
Yeah, because Danny needed to take his turn.
Yeah. So technically, it could have been right there. So he's already dealt with the Zorgons and stuff on there, and that's when the wish for Danny to disappear, and then he freaked out and accidentally made the mistake of drawing the Zorgons back to him.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that also doesn't explain the sister. Because the sister is still being cryostasis. No?
Well, we actually don't know if older Walter had the sister in the house with him when they played the game. We honestly don't even know if they were playing the game in the same exact house. Well, actually, no, we might. Because when older Walter was actually about to leave, and Danny said, "No, hold up, I'll let you stay," older Walter ended up saying, "The house looks fantastic, by the way."
Yeah. Well, not to mention, second, also, when he did make the wish and everything, he immediately ran straight to their bedroom, which he had not done yet.
Yeah, he didn't know the layout of the whole house yet.
Yeah, he immediately heads straight for Walter and Danny's bedroom, so he knew exactly where to go.
He knew exactly where Danny would have been hiding.
Yeah, and this is before
and
the
yet he
Zorgons
didn't
came
check
back.
under the bed.
To be fair, it's Walter, and we don't know how much time. Well, we also don't know how old he is. We don't know how long he's been stuck in space ever since.
Yeah.
What? How old are they?
I think Danny is maybe. Well, no, because Walter said he's in the 4th grade.
Yeah, he's in the 4th grade. Well, Grant, we also don't know the month. Do we?
Well, it would be summer. So it'd be like May, June, July.
Yeah.
But I don't see why the month is so important.
Birthday-wise. Grant, we also don't know their birthdays to begin with.
We don't know any of their birthdays anyway. But he says he's in the 4th grade.
Yeah. Oh, so that's all we're going off of.
Either that or it probably didn't take place in summer.
Walter and Zathura. He is 10 and Danny is 6.
Okay. That makes sense. I knew Walter was probably at least 10 or 11.
Oh god, and by the look of older Walter, he had to have been in space for at least
20 years.
Maybe that or
he probably was
years.
In his late 20s.
I was gonna say probably
late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah. So he's been in there for a good while, and then being transported to basically see his younger self is probably like a shakening for him.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of the astronaut, how does that character add to the movie? Does he serve as a comic relief, or does he have a deeper role in the film development?
A little bit of comic relief because he does have some pretty good jokes, and then the deeper meaning because of the fact that we find out who he truly is.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he gave a small backstory to Danny and them when he thought he was going to wish Danny gone, and told him that. But then we actually see when Walter asked for the little brother to this astronaut to be back, and we see that it's actually Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And then he actually goes younger once he puts his hand on Walter. It's kind of a jarring moment because he was like, wait, what? Especially with the fact that they look completely different.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, how are you going to find two actors that look almost identical?
Well,
that are like
to be fair,
20 years apart.
They do have a very similar facial structure. It's just the eyes are different.
No. Walter's head, the younger Walter's head's, I don't remember his name. Josh Hutcherson's head is more square.
Yeah.
Than Dax Shepard. That's the astronaut's actor's name. His head's more roundish.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you really can't do much there, but I mean, he does look similar in a way.
He does. But I also find
a passable
I do find a continuity error though. There are some scenes where his eyes are like bluish green, and then there at the end where he turns back into Walter, his eyes are brown, just like his. Because there is one scene where his eyes are just like a really bright blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's when he was talking to his sister.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they emphasized that so much with that one.
I don't know.
Because it was so weird.
Because she's a young teenage girl and she's into guys and stuff. It's just a teenage girl thing.
I guess.
It was just a good teenage girl thing back then. You have to think, I grew up with the whole Twilight thing. I know.
Oh god, not this again.
Yeah, I know what all that is.
Not the Twilight. Well, then again, it's very fitting that you say that since it's the same. It's Bella.
She played Bella.
God, I never knew that was Bella's actor until we rewatched it, and I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Why she looked familiar?
So, gonna go back to the robot. So the robot in the movie is another memorable character. How does it add to the adventure? Did you think its role was more significant than just being a plot device?
Well, seeing the fact that it did just take out the freaking Zorgons,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it was kind of used for a plot device, but at the same time, it did play a meaningful role of also with the brothers arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially with the first time they dealt with him, they they were arguing about Dane not taking his turn, and that Walter almost died. And then when he shot back through the door, through the wall, they immediately both immediately knew what the other one was thinking immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So it did help them also get on the
Grow.
same page
Yeah.
when it came to that issue. And then learning about the flowing too close to the gravitational pull to
What are you talking about?
that planet.
Oh, that yeah.
I'm trying to think of the planet's called.
It was some kind of
Xenon 9 or something like that.
Yeah,
It was something 9. But getting pulled into that, and the robot trying to get Walter while he's in the doorway. Because I mean, granted, we don't see the robot for very long after that. It's just
we don't really see him at all
instances
throughout the entire middle of the movie.
Well, we see brief instances that he's still there.
Yeah.
Like the sparks on their door, like we said earlier, and him when Walter was getting his shoe back, that thing popped out and it started repairing itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then again at the end when he went after the Zorgons.
Yeah.
After being reprogrammed.
Yeah.
Which why did he think that it was a good idea to use it on the Zorgons?
Well, he didn't know what it was meant for.
Well, it says
it could have meant reprogram, to read. I don't know.
Well, the reason why I say why do you think
I get why he tried to use it on the Zorgons to maybe reprogram the turn or to get them to go away. Reprogram the ships or something.
I only have
because to be fair, they didn't know what Zorgons were.
True.
At that time.
The only
because
thing
he got the astronaut after they summoned the Zorgons.
Yeah. The only issue I see with him using it on that is the fact that the distance. There's no way they're going to see or hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that was kind of bad on his part of not taking into account that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, granted, you're also not supposed to technically hear your screams in space to begin with, so technically they won't be hearing jack crap.
Yeah.
Because if we're going on that, it's got a field around the planet or the house.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're outside the house or outside the field of the house, it's regular space, so no breathing, and you can't hear your screams.
Yeah.
So they're literally hearing nothing.
So, the brothers face a lot of dangers throughout the movie. Which moment do you think was the most intense or emotional for the characters? Personally, I would say when they're putting Danny down the chute to go get the game.
Yeah.
From the basement. I would say that's a pivotal moment for both of them because Danny had to trust Walter that everything was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And such. And then Walter had to make sure that his little brother was going to be okay.
Yeah. I think that and the basically the scene of finding out who the astronaut was.
Yeah. I would say that.
I think those are the two main ones, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where it seemed like it was more calm than anything, and the only breathing room that they could get throughout the entire film. Granted, they did have some breathing room, like when he went to make mac and cheese.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite scenes.
Got any more useful advice? Well, that and the when they were making that fire in the kitchen, and then the sister just blows it out while they're screaming at her to stop.
Mhm.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Then just here comes the astronaut. It's like, okay, they're back. Who are you?
Who are you? So, what do you think makes Zathura stand out from Jumanji? Does it bring something new to the table, or is it more of the same?
I would say it's more the same, but with a twist.
Yeah.
Seeing the fact, while yes, Jumanji did do a twist technically with Albert coming back out.
Albert. Where did Albert come from?
I don't know.
His name's Alan.
I don't even know where Albert even came from. I don't even know where that name come from.
Albert.
Albert Elton John. But Alan, sorry. But when Alan came out of the game, it wasn't really a twist. It was more so it was done by kind of accident.
Yeah.
While Zathura meant to have that twist.
Yeah.
And it's more so, I guess the twist is more impactful with having the person that came back who was previously playing the game originally come back and finding out who they truly are.
Mm-hmm.
It has more of an impact than the way Jumanji did it.
Mm-hmm. But I also think it stands out too because it's a space theme. And a space theme is usually more
remembered,
attractive than something from like a jungle or anything like that.
I think it's also, well, then again, we also take that into account. At the time, a lot of movies were mainly using jungle.
Mm-hmm.
And
funny enough, early 2000s was space.
Yeah. Which is very ironic.
So, going back to like
Good
the visual
God.
So going back to like the visual effects and such, which scene had the best visual effects in your opinion? Was there a particular moment that really wowed you? For me, it was the robot. I love the robot. Even though I hated the robot as a kid, it gave me nightmares. But I love the robot now.
Honestly, I think the robot's the only real answer to this.
No, because you then have the Zorgons.
Yeah.
Which I think the Zorgons were more practical than they were CGI, though.
Yeah, those were actual costumes, more so than anything. With probably
it looks like actual costumes.
Grant, I think the head you definitely have to have a little bit of electronic devices inside of because of the whole tongue thing.
Technology back then was not as advanced as it is now.
Yeah, but you can manipulate a costume with electronics to spit out a tongue.
And you can manipulate a costume with your body too.
Yeah. Well, seeing the fact that he was also holding a sword in one hand, I don't think he's going to be using both hands to like move a tongue in and out of his costume.
2 people could have been in the costume.
It looked like a suit mainly for one.
It looked like it, but you never know. Angles do wonders.
It does do wonders, but for this, it's definitely a one-person suit. Especially when we got that better look at them when the robot was chasing him and that one jumped up back up into the ceiling. Mm-hmm. That was definitely a one-person costume.
That was CGI when it jumped out through the ceiling.
But when it stopped, when you could actually see it perfectly, that's a one-person costume. Yeah. The jump, yes, CGI, but when it was standing in place, that's definitely a costume. Yeah. But I think it had a little bit of electronics inside, at least for the tongue. Yeah. That way it could be a more realistic, like, almost like a snake or something. Mm-hmm. Because I think they're more so lizards.
Yeah, they're lizard people.
Yeah. Other than what? Well, they kind of operate with the snake and lizard kind of operate the same way when it comes to a tongue.
They're kind of like a mix between a lizard and a raptor.
Yeah. But the tongue almost looked like a snake until they used it to...
Well, lizard tongues look like that.
One time that slit in between the tongue,
Yeah.
But then the tongue is completely different when it attaches to the back of Danny's head.
Well, that was just CGI. It looked like a frog tongue.
Yeah, it looked like a frog tongue in there. It looks like the Zorgons are like a mixed match of different cold-blooded animals.
Mm-hmm.
And to, like, on top of
Which,
each other.
to be fair, we don't know a whole lot about the Zorgons in general. Like, what exactly is their species? Like, are they, like, a failed experiment? But then again, they had their own planet.
And not to mention, they're smart enough to make an entire ship.
Yeah.
So they do have some level of human intelligence, along with being able to stand upright on their hind legs like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have aspects of, like, animal characteristics.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, like, their mannerisms and everything. Like, being attracted to heat and stuff. High level of sense of smell.
Mm-hmm.
And the snake-like tongue and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Along with having, like, the scales of a... I'm trying to think, what? Kind of like, was it scales or...
It had like a spine, like a chameleon. Is it a chameleon that has a spine?
I was thinking like their skin mainly. Like.
Oh, that would be.
I was trying to think of what they're like. What that would be called. Is that? I was instinctively calling it scales, but that's more so like not that.
Well, yeah, that would be what that is scales.
Scales.
Yeah, I think so. I don't really know the exact term for their type of skin. But.
Yeah, I don't know either. All I know is that they're able to like peel it off so often.
They shed.
Yeah, they're able to shed it. So it looked like they had the skin to like shed it and everything, but they had their eyes on the side of their heads almost. But they're human-like eyes, but they're on the sides of their heads only.
Yeah.
So it's like they're definitely a mixed match of different cold-blooded reptiles.
Yeah, that's true. So to kind of wrap things up here, after watching Zathura, how would you describe it to someone who has never seen it? Is it a hidden gem or does it miss the mark for you?
I don't know if I would even consider this a hidden gem, honestly, or
I actually
overlook.
would, because I was talking to somebody today and he was asking me what we were recording today. And I was like, oh, Zathura. And he was like, what's that? I was just like, you've never heard of it? And he's like, no.
I'm shocked by that because it used to constantly be running on reruns on Cartoon Network all the time. That was the place I saw it was Cartoon Network. And I caught it every single time it ran. Because they're constantly rerunning old movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I can't tell you how many times they rerun a bunch of Scooby-Doo movies.
Mm-hmm.
And also Boomerang for What's New Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're constantly... I was shocked by that.
But I would honestly say this movie is a pretty hidden gem, considering that from what I've seen, I don't think it was very heavily marketed either.
To be fair, I don't even remember a trailer for it.
I don't either. I don't remember anything. Which then again, I was 5 years old.
But yeah, and
you would have been 3.
Yeah. Because honestly, I was trying to think of when it actually came out, the year.
2005.
Yeah, it slipped my mind because then we got talking with with different aspects of space and everything, and that's what threw me off.
Mm-hmm. That's all for today's episode of Popcorn Unscripted.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Pop Unscripted, then Popcorn Cinema on Facebook.
And let us know your thoughts or any suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. We upload every Wednesday and Saturday.
If you'd like to send us a message or subscribe for bonus content, check out the links in the description.
Your support means a lot and helps keep the conversation going.
If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us out a ton, and we love hearing your thoughts.
Until next time, keep your popcorn close
and your movie critiques closer.
Thanks for listening to Popcorn Unscripted.